watching the Interview 24 program. In today's program, we mainly focus on international cooperation in education system. And let me introduce our guest, Vice-Chancellor of the London South Bank University, Mr. David Phoenix. Mr. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Let's start the interview by talking about your visit agenda and your impressions about the organizations in education system of Uzbekistan.
So far, I've had a really good opportunity to meet with the students, as well as some of the faculty here, and a number of the key ministers and representatives within Uzbekistan. The feeling I have is certainly that you have a country that's really ambitious, understands the importance of education for both its people and its economy. And we met with the Deputy Prime Minister. I think he was incredibly enthusiastic and passionate about the importance of education for the future and how important it was going to be to provide opportunities for individual people within Uzbekistan if they were going to really get the knowledge they need to be able to succeed. And the plans he outlined were incredibly ambitious in terms of the rate of growth he wanted to see. And we talked about how the fact already the country has moved from only around about 9 to 10% of the population getting degrees to now nearly 40% of young people getting degrees. And that's really significant growth that's being obtained. And you have a range of people here in the student body that wish to succeed and are really passionate about knowledge and creating new businesses. Their interest in understanding global education and global business, and what they want to do is be able to spend time learning the course here in Uzbekistan, but then spending some time in the UK at London South Bank University to experience that global market. And we're also going to try and enable them to engage with our students in other countries, such as China or Egypt. The second thing we talked about was the unique nature of the course here at TEAM. And what TEAM's trying to do is create business courses that link to enterprise, so that students get skills around starting their own business. And at London South Bank, we have one of the top 2 incubators in England to support people in setting up businesses. So they were keen on how they can get access to that information and how we can help them take their business ideas forward. And it was interesting speaking to the students. About a quarter of the students at TEAM have already got their own business or are going to start their business. In the UK, we have about 40%, and that's one of the largest numbers in England for any university. So for TEAM to have 25% of its students already in business or starting business really gave a good flavour of how different TEAM is in the environment it's creating.
How do you assess the current state of education system in Uzbekistan, higher education system, I mean?
The education system at the moment is clearly going through a range of changes to provide more opportunity with an increased number of private university providers. The challenge, I think, for the government here is going to be to make sure there's tight enough regulation to make sure the quality is good in all those new providers, whilst at the same time allowing flexibility so that universities like TEAM University can create these really innovative programs that give people not just the knowledge they need, but the skills they need to be able to succeed in the future.
As an expert, what do you think? What experiences in Great Britain can be applied in Uzbekistan?
I think that there are experiences from Great Britain that we can apply. So, for example, with London South Bank University, when I started there, what I saw was the importance of a range of educational offers, because society is complicated. Each individual has different needs at different times. So as well as the university, we set up a number of academy schools and we've set up a technical college. And we've tried to create educational pathways across those with the university so that people can come in to study at any age and any time of their career, and we can find a pathway for them at that time. Now, why is that important? Because as we move forward, the world's changing faster and faster. We need to make sure that we're not just educating people from school at 18 or 19, but we need to be educating people who are older and maybe not had the chance to do a degree. So we need them to feed into the system, maybe through technical colleges and then going on to university. And we need to design new degrees that meet a standard, but which innovate and understand that the way the world's moving is different. So people need to be able to not just have the knowledge, but to put that knowledge into practice. And I think there's a lot we've been doing in the UK around applied education, around looking at short courses with employers that would be fit for the future, and around supporting that wider access to education, which through London South Bank University we can certainly bring to Uzbekistan. But one of the things you could help feed back as well, I think, is because of your ambition and the speed of development, how can you actually develop these models without creating silos or barriers for people? Because sometimes in the UK, people are directed to a certain type of qualification in a way that said, for example, if you wanted to do what we call a HND, which is equivalent to 1 year of a degree, that you do that if you can't do a degree. That's the wrong way of thinking, because in the future, people might actually need lots of 1 year qualifications rather than a really long 3 or 4 year qualification if they're going to keep up with industry. So because you're being so radical in this country and reinventing your education system, there are ways that your education system may develop that overcome some of those barriers that longer established routes of education have got locked in.
Mr. David, if we talk about the education models, the concept of the University 3.0 was widely promoted in Uzbekistan. At the same time, we have already discussed the University 4.0 model. So does this mean the previous one I have mentioned is outdated?
I think that the system is going to obviously always update, and with the use of digital technology now, the move across the world is certainly to a more blended learning. Online learning is quite radical, it's quite different, and it's very accessible, and it's cheaper to deliver. So that's going to continue to expand. But for some courses, and what we're doing at Team is an example of this, it's really important to be able to bring people together to exchange those ideas and put them in practice in real life situations rather than just through online peer-to-peer study. So there's going to be room, I think, for both models of education, but whichever model, the role of digital is going to be increasingly important. Perhaps one thing I would add to that as well, whilst the delivery will change, I think the shape of the qualifications will change. One of the things that's going to be important for the universities in Uzbekistan is to start developing the research alongside the teaching. Because in every country where there's been real transformation, the universities have driven job creation through research as well as delivering the skills and the education. So you're helping create the jobs and provide the skills. But to do that, you need the courses and you need the research. And that needs, I think, more thought and joining up for the future.
What new models should we expect in the future?
In the future, if you look forward from a course perspective, there will be a need for more graduates with degrees. That will continue. But then, because careers will change, people will have maybe 5 or 10 careers in their lifetime. It won't be a single career. You could see people needing short courses to reskill. So you can see a model whereby a range of new courses that are maybe 6 months or even less start to grow, that people can take to keep reskilling and keep on top of their career journey. And that's going to be interesting to see how that develops. That's why earlier I said about the concept of a technical college, because the universities will have to drive the research and the degrees. So what are the structures going to help develop these short courses that help people with degrees reskill? So I think education is the one most powerful thing that a country can provide for its population, because it makes society better, it makes prosperity better, and it really helps individuals in terms of their growth and their cultural understanding. But how we deliver that will change over time.
Can you tell us about the academic projects that you are implementing in our country?
Initially, we've focused on developing courses in business and management, but courses with this enterprise focus working through it. So how do you get the skills to start your own business through the curriculum? And our focus, therefore, has been with Team on this event. We're now moving in the first few years now to projects that support students and staff exchange. So students can come to the UK for a 2-week summer school or for a semester, or they can come for a year, depending on what they can afford and what they want to do. And we're also working to see if those students who complete their degree here may want to come to the UK to do a 1-year master's. So supporting that global exchange is a piece of work that we're undertaking. One of the things that I'm keen that we look at for next year as we start to develop the research base and the work with business is to try and find employers, big businesses and small businesses in Uzbekistan, that will work with team and help provide mentoring and placements for our students as part of our programme. Now, why would they do that? A business that does that, not only do they get links with the university, but they get to help support the students in their learning, and it gives them a chance, if the students are really good, to encourage those students to go and work for that company when they qualify. So those companies that work with us, and in the UK we work with about 1,500 businesses, get real benefits from that student body and the experience. So we want to develop as the next project that placement work. And on the research side, I hope next year we will have a conference that looks at enterprise and education and how you help people not just to study, but to put that education into practice. And certainly when we spoke to His Excellency, it was something he suggested as something that he would like to see happen. And we hope he will be involved with that as we take that forward.
How do Uzbekistan and Great Britain cooperate in the education system that will be beneficial for two sides?
Now, I think that's, again, you've got to look at it from the perspective of education. I think if we can start to get student exchanges and staff exchanges, that gives greater understanding of the different peoples and the different countries. And I think that's useful for both countries in that the more the two countries understand each other and the more the links form, then that gives avenues not just for greater cooperation around business, but also cultural projects and understanding of the different challenges and the different ways people work. Education itself delivers a benefit. The world now faces many challenges. Climate change, challenges around food production, ageing populations across the globe. Those challenges can't be addressed by any one country. And by getting sites of education and cooperation between governments, we can develop and coordinate research programs that really help to try and address some of those key questions for the future. In addition to that, a big picture research, there is the opportunity to work with businesses and local governments to see what is their plan, what kind of economic growth do they wish to see, what kind of businesses do they want to grow, and how can we exchange talent and ideas to make that happen. So global cooperation is really important, and universities can help facilitate that. And I think both governments I know, both with the UK and with Uzbekistan, are very keen to carry on the work that's already in place to develop that cooperation further.
Could you share your future plans with Uzbekistan?
So in terms of the global challenges, as I said, the curriculum will carry on developing, and we may look at additional courses that we want to create in the future. But the big piece of work will be to try and bring in the businesses by looking at the placements, and alongside that starting to link up the academics to develop research ideas and research proposals. Those ideas will be variable. Some of them will be tied into the course and look at business development. That's where we'll start. My own personal interest, my background is molecular engineering, so I develop new materials, new drugs, materials that can both act as drugs, act as carriers for drugs, and also energy storage materials. So tomorrow one of the meetings I'm looking forward to is to meet with the Academy of Sciences in Uzbekistan to talk about how we can try and get coordination and partnership between scientists within the UK and Uzbekistan to develop some of these research programs, because your academy is well positioned to do that. It has links to some really good scientists.
Mr. David, thank you for your having the time to give us interview.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Dear viewers, this was the Interview 24 program, and let me remind that today we had a Vice-Chancellor of the London South Bank University, Mr. David Phoenix. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.